There is an annual general meeting at 2:30 p.m. later today, and this is going to be very important because it's going to be held after 2 months of delay, and there are reports suggesting that Vijay Mallya will be chairing this AGM. In fact, this is something that he had himself mentioned earlier in one of the other group AGMs. J.N. Gupta, the former executive director of SEBI and the MD of Stakeholders Empowerment Services, joins in. Nitin Mathur of Societe Societe Generale, who also tracks this stock closely, joins us on the phone line. Gentlemen, morning to both of you. Mr. Gupta, I want to start off with you. What is the expectation from this AGM first up, and how should shareholders approach it?
See, I have no particular expectation, but the fact of the matter is this, that Diageo, the current promoter, owes a lot to disclose to the shareholder. And it would be nice if they disclose everything to the shareholder, or the shareholder should pressurize in the meeting for further disclosure. My experience has been that Diageo has not disclosed things properly to investors, and they have disclosed only when it has become like a hot potato that they cannot withhold. Had the related party rule not come in, probably all these things would not have come in open. And then today there is a situation where Diageo says that we do not have any confidence in Mr. Mallya, but Mr. Mallya is still continuing as the chairman. Now, when Mr. Mallya is continuing as the chairman, it creates a very strange situation where you are a person who is leading the board, but the board does not have a confidence. Now, all this board tussle is evident because on one hand, Mr. Mallya had given a statement on 28th September to one of the newspaper and spoken in the AGM of UB Holding, that he is certainly going to chair the meeting of United Spirit as and when held. And till date, the date of the meeting is not announced. Whereas, if you see the notice of United Spirit, the notice is dated 23rd of September, 5 days before the meeting of UB Holding, which very clearly indicates that Mr. Mallya was not kept in the loop, which may be ethically right, but legally not right, because the notice cannot be issued for the meeting unless the board meeting has taken place, and generally it is the chairman who decides all these things. Then the entire annual report, if you see, is full of the comments of the board, that what they feel about all these transactions. But then it is the director's report. Nowhere it is written what is the opinion on these things by Mr. Mallya. And then other point is this, that what is, this is a larger question I am raising, that such shareholders agreement which says that X and Y will continue be on the board or as a chairman till such time X was what percentage of the equity. Are they in the shareholders list today?
No, but Mr. Gupta, what is the option now? Diageo is a dominant shareholder. Only they can move the removal of Vijay Mallya. How will the events turn out if he has been declared willful defaulter by so many banks? Will not there be a financial emergency which will force Diageo as well to ask Mallya to step down?
That is, see, Diageo, as stated in their earlier report, they have said they have already asked Mallya to step down, but Mallya has refused. But what they have been doing after that, and especially when the person has been declared willful defaulter, I do not think there is any place for Mr. Mallya to
this
be
is
on
a very
the
strange,
board, and especially the chair.
But this is very strange, Mr. Gupta. The board doesn't want him. The dominant shareholder doesn't want him. He can still continue. How is that possible?
And then, no, but look at the difference. On one hand, Diageo said that we don't want him on the as chairman on the board. On the other hand, they are continuing him with a nomination and remuneration committee, which is responsible for selecting the director, and the current directors would have been recommended by nomination and remuneration committee. So I find it totally strange and unbelievable that they can't even remove him from these committees where there is no shareholder agreement required or no shareholder approval required, that just the board can say that this is the new nomination and remuneration committee.
Okay, so let's also get Nitin Mathur of SocGen into this discussion. Nitin, does this even matter at all whether Vijay Mallya is there or not in the longer run? Because, in fact, as many people point out, now Diageo has full control. Diageo is, in fact, some of their strategies also yielding fruit as far as the fundamentals of the company go. What do you think the end game of all of this could be?
Yeah, Sonia, hi. Before we start, I'd just like to flag that, we don't share the comments which was flashed on your television about, more disclosures from Diageo. I think these are comments at SocGen comments. These are not our comments. These are what Mr. Gupta was indicating. So just to clarify to your viewers here. Next, to answer your question, yes, I mean, we think that a lot of these things don't matter now because as we all know that the management control is in the hands of Diageo and the strategy which they have laid out in the last couple of analyst meets, it's pretty much on track and they are actually working on a long-term game plan here.
Okay. Well, those statements were attributed to J.N. Gupta, Nitin, not to SocGen.
Yeah, just a flash actually was probably showing SocGen. So.
Okay, no, it says J.N. Gupta says
okay.
Diageo needs to disclose a lot to shareholders. Just to get back to Mr. Gupta, what is the end game? Cannot the regulator ask for Mallya's resignation? Can't the exchanges do that? They also have, they have listing rules. Or the bankers, can't any of them ask? Or the minority shareholders, don't they have a right to ask for his stepping down?
See, all of them can take action if they want, but the final action has to be taken by the shareholder and the board. Because SEBI or NSE, stock exchanges or Reserve Bank of India, they cannot move a resolution for removal. Only it has to be done either through the legal process or through the shareholder democracy. My issue is this, that today is a very strange situation that 98% of the equity holder want removal of Mr. Mallya, but Mr. Mallya continues. So what regulator should do, regulator should frown upon such agreements where with a minuscule equity a person is likely to continue as chairman as long as he wants. The secondly thing that there should be a clause in all such agreements that whenever some doubts about the conduct has erupted into the system, then the person should step down, because it is a situation that you are calling a person that you have done wrong transaction, you have done illegal transaction, you have siphoned of the money, and yet you have no tool to remove him, which I find strange. And certainly to demonstrate what is their intent, Diageo should have moved from legal forum for redressal of their grievance or for shareholders' interest.
Okay, so you know what, Nitin, just come in on what the movement on the stock will be from here on, because as we were discussing earlier, all of this is still noise. The fundamentals of the company have improved in the last couple of quarters, and the stock has also moved up from 3,100 to 3,400. What kind of an upside do you see, one, on the stock and two, on the earnings here on?
Sonia, so we are maintaining a sell rating on the stock, and we with a target price of 2,200. So instead of upside, we actually see downside from the current levels. And to answer your question, yes, I mean the fundamentals are improving. We have seen some bit of premiumization helping the company. The premium brands and premium and above categories actually contributing now 39% of total volumes versus lower than that earlier on. So yes, fundamentals are definitely improving. Company is definitely on track of a long-term strategy. The low teens sort of a margin guidance which they have given in the last quarterly conference call is something which we think is positive, for the shareholders to actually see how the whole restructuring of the company is going to happen in the short to medium term.
So then why do you have a sell if you believe that the company's fundamentals are improving? Is it because of stretched valuations?
Yes, valuations actually. On a 12-month forward basis, it's trading at 92.5x on a price earnings multiple. So it's very expensive,
Okay.
Nitin, just to complete the argument that we started with Mr. Gupta, if Diageo were to seek a legal removal of Vijay Mallya, or the shareholders did, or the presence of Mr. Mallya, the anomaly of his presence ends in some fashion, will the stock see anything positive at all, or will it be stock neutral?
Like to refrain from answering this, please.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to leave it at that. Mr. Gupta and Nitin, thank you very much for joining us in this discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. So there it is. SES, the shareholder, the shareholder entity is telling shareholders not to vote in favor of adopting the accounts, so as to force the issue and ensure that the chairman resigns. That's the advice coming in from SES. Well, that's United Spirits for you. We will track the AGM, and it starts in the afternoon, and give you a blow-by-blow account of the proceedings there. For the moment, let's concentrate